Don't say anything incriminating, Daniel.
Yes. So it looks like we're about to go live, guys.
And if you do, make it count.
Alrighty. I hope everybody's ready. This is going to be banging, yo.
Yo, what's up?
Hey.
What's up?
100th podcast.
All right.
I'm echoing, aren't I?
Little? Not really. Alrighty.
I am. I can hear myself after every time I speak.
Let's begin, shan't we? All right, so
let's do it.
On today's episode of the Unframe of Mind show, come join us today as we live stream our 100th Unframe of Mind podcast episode. The topics today: Zuckerberg practically begging for government regulation over social media, the European Union attempts to ban memes, or did they? And I'll tell you how I accidentally bought an antique cookie jar this week and learned a valuable lesson. All that and more coming up on today's episode. And let me hit the correct button.
You're listening to the Unframe of Mind show, the place to have the most mind-stretching, unprotected intellectual intercourse of your life. Your host, Daniel Wagner, battles the forces of evil on the fiery balls of truth, reason, and evidence over safe walls.
Alrighty, and welcome back to another episode of the Unframe of Mind show, where we have uncomfortable conversations without a condom. I'm your host, Daniel Wagner.
And co-host, Anthony Schrawick.
And today we're joined by a special guest, Dia, from the Dia Opina YouTube channel.
Well,
my mistake.
Well, actually, the channel it hasn't been called Dia Opina in a while. It's just Dia Beltran.
Dia Beltran, you changed it on me. Why do you do that? See, we need to connect more.
Well,
she's keeping you guessing.
Well, I talk to you personally, but when it comes to little branding changes, I just don't notice that, I guess.
Well, I didn't notice you had a whole other body next to you.
See, so yeah. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. So like we mentioned a minute ago, this is our 100th episode for the podcast. We've actually got more videos, but as far as podcasts go,
right,
this is the 100th one. It's kind of a neat little mile marker, just being able to see UOM 099 turn into that 100 mark where we hit the triple digits on the podcast stream.
Plus, we're now available on iHeartRadio as well.
Oh yeah,
which was definitely good news.
Everyone subscribe. My pussy is excited.
Is it still in your lap? There it is. I meant to ask you if it was shaved or hairy, but I guess now we know.
Apparently got a very hairy pussy.
She's multiracial. She's 3 different colors.
So what do you do with what do you do with that multiracial pussy you have there?
That just. Oh, I'm not going to.
She's like, nope, I am not going to touch that one.
This could have gone so many different directions.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
So many different directions.
I caress her, but then I had to.
Anthony, she's a good Christian girl. Don't make her say things.
I got a feeling I'm going to get along quite well with this individual.
Oh, geez.
As she pops up with the Holy Bible,
right next.
I can't follow up with anything.
Is
right
it
now.
mildly ironic that her Holy Bible sitting directly next to a book by Milo Yiannopoulos, who is
and Trump
is a flamboyantly gay Catholic? Yeah.
He is a flamboyantly gay Catholic. However, he does espouse Christian values, despite his degeneracy.
Most of them. Most of them. Yes.
Yes. I met him. I even have his number, and he's told me many times through text that he was going to come on my channel, but he keeps declining and he keeps avoiding me.
Oh.
He's pissing me off, in fact. So the idolization I had of him, remember you and I did a podcast on this, or an interview on this months and months and months ago.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I love him. But that respect level has really disintegrated.
It's like, you keep dodging me. I mean, he's probably a very busy man. I understand. But, you'll get your chance. You get just famous enough where it becomes beneficial for him to have you on his show, or vice versa. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely doing you guys a favor. No, kidding.
Yeah, damn straight. She's got triple the subscribers last time I checked.
Well, there's some truth behind that.
I was kidding. I was joking. It was just a mean joke.
we've been on each other's show quite a bit. Matter of fact, I was just on your show this last week, wasn't it? Last week? I think it was last week. Good
the
Lord.
Look,
there's been so much stuff that happened last week. I've lived a very, very full life lately. My Friday when I was hanging out with you went from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. before I ever hit the pillow.
Oh, wow.
Before I ever stopped. Like it was just one activity after another, back to back to back to back to back. It was nonstop.
Do you sleep?
I try to when I can.
How much do you get? 6 hours?
Around 6 to 7 hours, yeah.
I can handle 6 to 7
Yeah,
hours.
it's
If I
not
get
bad.
less than 6, I'm not happy.
So let me kick this off with an interesting question. I heard this on Penn Sunday School. It's another podcast I listen to with Penn Jillette from the Penn and Teller.
Oh, I actually don't mind him.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I don't
She's like, I approve.
I don't mind him. He's okay.
Because he's such a militant atheist, but he's not mean. He's like not horrible.
No, I love listening to him talk. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's got a great way of telling stories, but he's also got
Right.
a great way of framing things. So this was an interesting question that popped up. I wanted to ask you guys. So the question was, would you rather have sex with Jennifer Lawrence or have everyone in the world know that you slept with Jennifer Lawrence, but you don't actually get to sleep with Jennifer Lawrence?
Is there another option for that?
No, it's either you sleep with Jennifer Lawrence and nobody knows ever,
I'm
or
the second option.
or you don't sleep with her and everybody in the world knows about it.
I'll take option number 2.
No kidding.
Same.
Yeah.
You two are the first two that I've asked that question to. They're like, number
Do
2.
you wanna know why?
Yeah, of course I
Do you
want to
wanna
know. Of course I want to know why. That's why it's very interesting.
Because I'm already lined up here in Australia. There's a very small community of conservatives and leftists, so like everyone knows everyone's business, or they think they do. So I've been already lined up with like 6 different people that they think I've had sex with, and it's just all untrue. So it just doesn't bother me. Like if people think I've had sex with people, it's like, okay, like I know the truth, so that's all that matters. So that's why, because I'm already in that. Except it doesn't get to be someone as beautiful as Jennifer Lawrence.
I was actually going to be nice and like give you the option of having some studly looking guy actor, but you're like, Jennifer Lawrence, fuck yeah.
Yeah, I tap that. I mean, if you'd said Jessica Alba, I would have been all in. But yeah.
Jessica Alba's your thing, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they use
With the wink.
They use Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence isn't necessarily my favorite one, but you know,
Right.
she'll do.
Was there a purpose behind that question at all, or?
That was random.
Well, there was, but
I mean, from off his show, as far
it
as
was,
why he-
it was more just to kind of see the psychology, because he says, I know 2 guys that are very different individuals, and both of them would have chosen the opposite option. One would choose to sleep with, and one would choose the notoriety that comes along with sleeping versus the actual sleeping with. I was like, oh,
Right.
that's interesting. That's just
What do you
Now-
prefer? What would be your response?
yeah.
You guys actually want to know? Nobody, I've asked a lot of people. Nobody's ever turned it around and asked me. So
What the hell? How many people do you know?
I'm like, I would rather do the sleeping with, I think, rather than the
You
having
think either you do or you
having
don't
everyone
know.
Like that's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's there's a lot that could come with that, of course. That could come with having everybody know that you slept with some famous star. But I don't know if it's the right kind of attention that I'd be interested. Like, it wouldn't exactly draw in the type of quality people that I would be interested in having in my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Like,
does.
it would only draw in the kind of people that would think that something like that was important. Which
it's all status driven,
right?
so.
Which in this case I would have already signaled that this was important to me. Like, my status is important to me, and therefore the only people that would draw in was people who also felt like just your status was that important.
I would do it just to propel the show. That's it.
Oh, that's taking one for the team.
Taking one
man.
for the team.
I appreciate that.
That's good.
I really appreciate that. That's very nice.
Got to get those views up.
Like, most of it is a bunch of MGTOW guys that are just like, I wonder what these guys got that I ain't got. You know what MGTOW is? Just
Oh yeah, I've
Okay.
done quite a bit of research on that. Been meaning to ask
Isn't
if you want to do a
MGTOW,
show.
like the men's movement?
men going their own way.
Yeah, they condone marriage, and yeah, it's you ought to look into it if you're not familiar with it. So
No, I've heard of it. I just thought it was the same thing as what feminists do, only that it's what men do.
Not really. It's more like we've just given up on the idea of having relationships with women, because women are just so fucking terrible nowadays. They've just
Yeah, they
decided
are.
that women are just fucking terrible. Which,
Yeah.
I mean,
They are.
I don't think they are on general, but
I don't think it's necessarily women in general. I think
there's
it's just
been
the
a-
idea of marriage and relationships, of how men
But-
are treated or looked
Yeah.
or viewed, is one of the reasons why men have given up on that.
Well,
option.
that and the way the state is actually more too far over to the women's side of things. Like, like heavily weighted. It's usually the mother that gets the custody of the children. It's usually the father that's looked at as like this piece of shit.
I'm so
And the court
against that.
system is like super pro woman and anti male. It's ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. We ought to do a show on that, and
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sure-
those
I'm sure-
institutions have absolutely been corrupted, and the reason why I guess this MGTOW movement exists is because women are like falsely claiming rape, and women are like acquiring children when they don't deserve it, and women are having abortions when the men want to keep those babies. Like, women are horrible.
That's
wow.
Yeah,
my mom is watching. I better be good.
Yeah.
I don't mean all women. I mean those types. When I say all, I'm clearly generalizing.
When you say all women, are you including Anthony's mom since she's watching?
Yes.
Hi, Mom.
Well, now that we've cleared that up.
Sorry.
No, it's just because she's off work right now to help with my stepdad.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a whole lot of busy times, or well, she's got a lot of downtime.
You're just gonna put your foot deeper and deeper in your mouth.
Yeah.
Boy, Thanksgiving dinner is gonna be awkward.
That's why we're going down in July for 4th.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take that same question and turn it around, and instead of Jennifer Lawrence, Donald Trump.
Oh.
How do you answer that one?
I don't think I want to answer that either way.
You got to pick A or B. A or B. Do you sleep with Donald Trump?
Again, for viewership.
Or does everybody in the world know that you slept with Donald Trump, but you don't actually sleep with Donald Trump?
I got to go number 2, man. But then again, it's for viewership and clicks and likes. And
I go number 1.
You going number 1? You sound like you might actually enjoy that. Like most people
because
on the show when they were asking it.
Trump.
Yeah, when they were
like Trump, although he wasn't my pick for the Republican, I wanted it to be Dr. Ben Carson. The reason I'd go number 1 is because I'd be able to use the man and get things.
Whoa, look at you, a regular old woman, ain't you? Gotta use the man to get things.
Women are horrible.
Hey, at least she's brutally honest about it, though.
At least she's open. That's what I appreciate. You're just open about these things.
Because I'd be able to, like, I have poor family in Colombia. I'd be able to, like, send them money. I'd be able to maybe buy a house for myself here in Australia. I'd do these little things.
Yeah, well, you couldn't necessarily use it over his head because the rules were nobody ever knows.
Well, hang on.
Or maybe are you just that good?
Well, we have.
No, let's be fair. We're comparing you to Melania Trump here.
She's pretty awesome. I don't compare to her.
I'd grab her pussy in a heartbeat. But dude, I mean, you have a nice pussy too. But I don't know.
Tricolored.
I know.
It's amazing.
Hey, there it is.
Yeah. For the podcast listening audience, we're actually talking about a cat
yes.
and children.
If
the
you
children
think anything else, you are just really disturbed
For anybody that's 6 and under that's listening to my podcast, we're talking about a cat. We're talking about a cat. So what do you say we pull out an offensive crayon?
Hey,
so since you haven't been watching the show, do you know what the offensive crayon thing is we've been doing every week?
No.
Well, lucky for you, we're going to explain. So we got sent this box. Let me see the box. This box of offensive crayons, and what it is a whole bunch of different colors, and they have different labels on them, very very offensive names. And what we've been doing each week is pulling out 3 at random and encouraging our listening audience to create pictures with these colors and then send them to unframeofmind@gmail.com. So
color number 1.
First color of the night is a nice fancy green one. Mm-hmm. It's titled "Corporations Are People Too." That's weird. I like it though.
Yeah.
It's not offensive.
And it's green.
It's just true.
Money.
Well, it's green, yeah, for money.
The awkward pause is what made it funny.
Yeah, well, that's not.
Yeah.
Believe me, that's not the most offensive one. Like, what do we have? Travel ban brown in there and statutory rape red.
Miscarriage maroon.
Oh,
I think
yeah, that was
pretty. Yeah.
That's funny.
They're good ones. We actually just had recently just had the creator Alice Vaughn of those crayons on the show.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, she reached out to us and like, yeah, you should totally come on the show and talk about it. So, cookie jar. It's the next story.
Cookie jar.
Yeah, as I alluded to in the intro, I accidentally bought an antique cookie jar this weekend.
How do you accidentally buy a cookie jar?
Well, I will tell you. And then I want to see if you guys can kind of suss out the valuable lessons that were learned in this. So I'm out with my daughter, my youngest daughter. She's 12. And we're out to lunch. We went out to lunch and had some pizza. And then we go over to the antique mall. And I'm looking for a case for our mobile podcasting equipment. I'm looking for some kind of unique case that I can, retool and turn into some kind of a nice, carry case for our mobile podcasting equipment. Anyway, I spot this like old black metal suitcase. It's an old black metal suitcase. It's probably about, suitcase size, roughly. And on top of it is sitting an antique cookie jar and a fedora. Well, I take the cookie jar and I put it in my arm, right, like this. And I take the hat and I move it to the side and I go to open it up and I'm looking around and checking it out. It looks kind of cool, but I'm not really feeling it. Like, it's not screaming at me like I have to have this case. So I go ahead and shut it. I go to grab the hat to put it back on top and I drop the hat on the ground. Well, I bend over to go pick up the hat like so, and the lid of the cookie jar decides it's gonna fall off and right on the ground. I'm like, oh shit! My daughter's standing right there watching me. I'm like, oh no. So luckily it only broke into 2 pieces, so it wasn't like terrible. But I was like, yeah, I guess I got to pay for that now. And I went to look at the price, and I'm glad it wasn't like some super like antique thing. Like, it wasn't like some super valuable thing, but it was still pretty damn expensive for an ugly ass cookie jar. Thing was $25 plus tax.
Oh, for a cookie jar?
For a cookie jar.
Well,
For a cookie jar. But I had to take it up front and go buy it. And I was like, this sucks. But, you know, I went and put cookies in it the next day so I wouldn't feel so guilty.
that's all that matters, man.
Haley made up some
As
chocolate
long as it's got some cookies in it, you're good.
Haley made up some chocolate oatmeal no-bake cookies and put them in it, and I was like, and I set it there on my counter. That doesn't match. It doesn't match a damn thing in my kitchen, but there it is, and it has a story to it now. But that was a fun thing. But there was a valuable lesson that was taught in this, which I feel like the $25 was probably worth. Just wanted to see if maybe you could kind of suss out what you think the lesson might have been.
In your mind, there's no telling.
No, nothing, anything, Dia?
The lesson, I suppose that, you find that to be a fascinating story when it really isn't.
I love you.
Hey, you know that the story started out with, so I accidentally bought an antique cookie jar, and you were interested.
I was.
So I roped you in.
No, I
did
was.
rope you in.
I just thought there would have been more dramatics to this.
No, that was really the simplicity of it. No,
Because he has to turn to his friend to ask, but wait, you were interested, weren't you?
So check this out. No, I know I'm good. I know I'm pretty good at storytelling, and I know I could drag him in.
Be careful with I don't know. Be careful with cookie
No.
jars.
Well, there's something a little bit bigger here, and that's why I actually thought it would be appropriate to bring up on the show. Is because my youngest was standing there, and she learned a valuable lesson that day about honesty and integrity, and about if you do accidentally break something in a shop, where most people would have just taken it and gone, oh shit, and just put the lid back on and set it on top and walked away.
Do the right thing.
I very well could have done that because you would not have been able to tell.
Yeah. That's true.
Take it and you go up front, and she was there watching me, and I think kids learn more through that type of thing than they learn through us actually telling them things.
So actions versus
you're a dad,
words.
so I didn't jump to that, but that's
Yeah.
very good of you.
That's why I felt like it was still worth the $25. I'm like, yeah, if that's what we got out of it, I feel like that's okay. We got an interesting story to tell about a cookie jar we accidentally bought. And she's learned she's learned a valuable lesson.
So to kind of follow up with the cookie jar, and something we had previously talked about on the show with the situation with your.
You guys are blurry.
Your 12-year-old.
Oh no, you're okay. You're okay.
Has that kind of gone anywhere since our last conversation about the 12-year-old and her coming over?
Oh no, it hasn't.
Kind of want to do a quick update on that.
Hasn't even come up.
Hasn't?
No,
Okay.
it hasn't even come up. They haven't even hung out or asked to.
Okay, next subject.
I was like, okay, maybe that.
Are you a dad too, Anthony?
What's that?
Are you a dad?
I am.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
How many?
We're fathers. I have one child.
Oh, yay.
Yep, Kelly. 12 years old.
Yeah,
well, we'll be 12 in May.
Yeah,
so.
Younger than my youngest daughter.
Yeah.
But
Do your
she
kids know
acts
each other?
so much older. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Oh, that I say is your daughter is younger than my youngest, but she acts like very mature for her age.
Well,
most times anyway.
Yeah, I mean, as her dad, I know that she isn't majority of the time, but she is pretty respectful of others, and especially other grown-ups.
She seems well behaved over here anyway, and just as my kids are very well behaved at other people's houses.
And she's getting good with the machete
it's
too.
Different territory.
Yeah, right.
That's what it is.
Alrighty, so I am echoing back. What is going on?
Is it her volume turned up?
Did something change? Nothing
No,
changed?
I haven't even touched the screen.
Huh. That's interesting. You haven't touched it. I haven't touched it.
It's gone away.
Yeah, and that's really weird. Just kind of cut info. Whatever. We're done. All right, so this is the kind of thing I wanted to have you on the show for specifically, is the Article 13. Have you heard about the European Union's big Article 13 thing that happened? Did you read up on it at all?
I did a little bit.
I've
been working a lot here lately, so
yeah.
Sargon of Akkad did a good video on it, and so did the redheaded guy channel. I forgot his name. He's cartoon, but they did very good videos on it.
Yeah. So I've been looking into it a little bit, and the reason I'm interested is because it can have an effect on us as content creators. Let me make sure I'm showing up in the right spot.
But can it if it's EU? Because EU means Europe.
Right.
So does Australia and the USA count in this Article 13 and Article 11?
I would say yes, not yet.
But the U.S. could model itself after.
Right.
Yes,
because basically, what it does is creates a model for how to censor the internet, basically. Yeah. And then other countries that are like, well, our positions of power are being threatened a little bit here too. That's just not a bad idea. We should probably model, use their model.
Yeah.
But there was a big fear going around that it was going to censor memes. That was the big thing. Like you couldn't post memes anymore. And as I read into it, right at the last minute, basically, they put in some new language into it that said basically memes are protected, memes are fine, you can do those all day long. They're just wanting basically to make the big publishing companies like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all those big social media companies to be held accountable or held liable for any copyrighted material that gets onto their site or for any harmful material that gets onto their site. And they want to try to control that and filter it. And they suggested that basically every piece of content that comes in has to go through some kind of a filter.
Well, this is what it says. Article 11 calls for news aggregators like Google to pay media companies a so-called link tax when sharing their content. Article 13 demands the platform police the content uploaded to posts ahead of their publication by using an automated software that detects it. So that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, they're doing such a good job so far at trying to run these algorithms that they do such a great job.
It just kind of reminds me of 1984. I mean, it's crazy how much everybody wants control over what we do and dictate the outcome of what we post. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Don't you think this is the inception of a worldwide? I mean, I'm jumping to conclusions, but doesn't this sound like the inception of globalism, a worldwide government? The Book of Revelations.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't go that far, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can see the angle she's coming at with that.
Yeah,
I reckon it's like a warranted statement.
All right, so the directive on copyright and its most controversial component. Sorry, this is from the Wired.com.
But you can't quote other websites.
Yeah,
Google will have to, pay a tax.
Well, that's another element of this as well. They're saying, you can if you have to pay publishers for content. If you if I say if I was to take this this paragraph right here and copy and paste it on my website, and then even if I put a link back to them, if I put that on my website, apparently I'm supposed to pay them a small portion, like basically tip them for that use of the article, kind of like you buy people's music online,
right?
Because that would be considered a form of pirating, I guess. Like it seems like really restrictive is what it sounds like. It sounds like what they'll end up doing is it's
copyright regulations is what it is, or at least what it sounds like, and it's almost kind of like what is it called? I just had that word on the tip.
Well,
of my
it's
tongue
kind of under the guise of protecting the producers, the content producers. It's under it's under the guise of saying, well, you little guys that are producing the music and producing the videos and stuff, we need to protect you, royalties. Yeah, we need to make sure you get your royalties for all your stuff. And what ends up happening is, well, yeah, that might be the case, but I mean, by the time you sit there, what these companies are going to do is start out with probably being a little too heavy-handed on the filtering, because they'd be afraid of being fined for accidentally letting too much in, and then they would kind of let loose from there. But then once you kind of start clamping down on it so much and starting controlling it so much, it's like, why even bother moving? Like, we're in a good spot now. We're not getting any kind of fines. sure, people are bitching about it, but we're not worried about people bitching. We're worried about getting fined a ridiculous amount of money. Like, the incentives are all in the wrong spot.
I think the more that we look into this, or companies look into doing this, they're going to realize they're in way over their head on this. I mean, as far as being able to charge people, you can't control every dynamic of it. I mean, that's just... Even if you could,
well, that's what big government thinks their job is to do, is to control every damn thing. like they've already got in their head, like, we know what's best for you, so we're gonna go ahead and just create these laws and
it's what's best for them. It's the bourgeoisie versus the proletariat.
Well, I mean, that's how they. I think that's honestly how they think. That they think that they know what's best for the people. They know what's best. But it's like,
it's kind of like our parents, looking out for our best interests, when in fact, government has no interest in us at all. At least our parents do.
No, they do, so. in a taxpayer capacity.
Well, yeah, as long as it involves, the almighty dollar, but anything else outside of that, no.
Maybe soon to not be almighty.
Well, yeah.
But I just wanted to bring that up because it could potentially have an impact on us as content creators.
Yeah.
And the fact that right now it's a directive given by the European Union Parliament, it's not actually enacted yet. So here's the problem. Let me make sure I get this
they still voted
correct.
On it.
So basically, I wish I would have highlighted what I needed to see. So okay, so basically the gist of it was that they pass on this directive onto the rest of the European Union countries, and then each one of those countries is to take that, interpret it in their own way, and then enact the law within each country. So you may end up getting like a whole bunch of different variations on how this law should be interpreted, which means companies like Facebook have got to go and retool their algorithms to accommodate each individual one. And more than likely, which you've seen similar things in the past, what they'll do is just figure out what the common thing is between all of it and just do that. So that way, that, it'd be much easier than trying to fine tune it to each individual country.
Yeah, because let's just piss off everybody.
Yeah, let's just block everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think honestly, and we spoke about this on your show the other day, is that this is another good sign that what we're doing as individual content creators is working. Like, they're getting scared.
Yeah, they
exactly.
are.
They're getting scared, and they're getting more desperate. They're getting more obvious about what they're trying to do and how they're trying to block people. It's just becoming more and more overt and very clear, and a lot more people's eyes are going to be opened up as this continues to go down this road, especially as people that normally wouldn't have been blocked about stuff 2 years ago are like suddenly getting blocked. I'm like, I've been talking about this stuff for years. What the hell am I getting blocked over some
Well, I think that's why it's important for people to understand that when we share our content, it does us a very good thing, and for her channel as well, for people to understand that we have the power and the ability to get our message, out there to other people that necessarily wouldn't hear it because of things like this. So, that's why I say, share the content and like it and, rate it. And, because the more people do it, we're fighting back in that sense by leaving those, ratings and, comments and shares. And so it's more beneficial for us than it is for them. And that's when they become more scared, is when they start to realize, there's more followers, there's more likes, there's more views, and their attempt to shut us down may not work.
So I think what might end up happening coming up is if this continues down this path, if they keep blocking people and trying to censor people, you're going to see an emergence of blockchain-based type solutions where it's decentralized.
Can you explain that? Because you said that to me the other day on my channel, and I was like, oh, blockchain, I've never heard of that. So I'm assuming that's an alternative to what's currently happening.
Oh, yes. I thought we've talked about cryptos before. I talk about it all the time on my channel. I really like it. So, okay, so
she doesn't watch the show, so she would know if she did.
So check this out. Let me see if I can give a basic description of what
just give it. Don't shoot my ear off.
Yeah, about what I envision this could be, and I've seen some people taking a swing at this in the cryptocurrency industry. You've heard of Bitcoin, blockchain, that kind of thing.
Of course.
Okay, so it's all based on what's called blockchain technology, and basically what it is, it's called a distributed ledger. It's basically a big a ledger of all these entries that go on that is not it's decentralized. It's not controlled by one company. Like Facebook has a database of user information that's all listed on their site. Hackers can then look at that and go, hey, that's a honeypot of information over there. We could just go take it and hack into it. And now we've got, and we've heard a lot from Facebook having trouble keeping our data secure. What blockchain technology is it's essentially that database, but it's being verified for authenticity by separate nodes on the network, a whole bunch of different people. It's not one group. It's everybody participating
for now,
and then everybody benefiting in the process. So I guess just with that real, admittedly brief description of what blockchain is and how that applies to what we're talking about here is right now all of our social media outlets are handled through a centralized company like Facebook, like Google, and we have to play by their rules, and they're in the process of trying to get government regulation on board. We'll get to that later. And so we have to play by the government's rules as well. Well, the thing with blockchain is we don't have to play by government's rules. If it gets big enough and there's enough people on a network and they're all sharing files back and forth and they're all contributing to this blockchain ledger, and basically one of the things you can do is run internet through it, where basically instead of one company like Facebook having all their servers in one central location, everybody's devices suddenly become the servers. Everybody's phones, everybody's computers becomes a small portion of a larger server that can serve up all that content.
So YouTube can still be accessed through this blockchain thing, or is it its own version of internet?
I think it's its own. I think the way to look at it is that it's its own internet. It's a different. It's not. Okay. It's not the World Wide Web as we know it. It's much different. And it's pretty cool. I think if a lot of these companies start to work together, we're going to see really interesting combinations of ideas happen where I can take and have an identity on that blockchain that is verified by the blockchain that nobody can take from me. I have control of that. And then I can use that identity to interact with others on the network. And I can use that identity to passwords, login information on websites might be a thing of the past. I may not have to log into Facebook. I might just go there and I have a profile already because it's already part of my online identity.
Right.
There's a lot to it, and I'm trying not to fire hose you with it because there's so much to it. But I guess what I'm saying is the more that we continue to see these like overbearing restrictions on our content, you're going to start to see a move away from those centralized style businesses, and there's going to be a decentralized solution.
Yep.
There's always a workaround, essentially.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people working on it right now.
I think people often forget that we outnumber government, so it just amazes me, that thought process that people don't seem to quite have is for them to understand that there's way more of us than there is of them.
Yeah, right.
And we do have more control than the government does. I just wish people would start standing up for themselves a lot more.
Do you think she's bored?
I think she is.
No, sorry, my keyboard is really dirty, so I'm cleaning it. I'm still listening.
She's cleaning. Typical woman cleaning as a man talks to her.
Your whole camera is like your video. Yeah. Your video is doing this shit.
I'm proving to you that I am listening. I just decided to clean it at the same time. I'm just two things at once. Multitasking.
In my mind, she was rubbing her pussy earlier. Now she's got a towel down there, rubbing.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible! Don't say that.
She said she was cleaning.
I'm just cleaning. Yeah. I'm using a makeup wipe to clean the keyboard.
In about 15 minutes, we'll see her go walking by with a vacuum.
Like we've clearly lost Dia on this live stream. We have bored her to tears.
I wanted to know what the blockchain thing was, and it's its own network. And I was listening to what Anthony said. He said that there's more of us than there is of them. So basically, I got the gist of that. I felt like was that how stupid does government think we are that we can't come up with our own alternatives? Even the more they try to come up with things, the people will come up with alternatives.
I knew you were paying attention. I was just giving you a hard time. My son says we're frozen.
You're not.
Okay, good. I'm seeing the no. That was like 10 minutes ago. Oh well. Oh. It might have been about the same time you said we were blurry.
Yeah.
So let's pull another offensive crayon. What do you say? We're moving right along. Would you do a green?
Yep.
All right. What the? Holy shit. Okay. This is a blue crayon. And this one is called... I should have known better than to talk to him like that when he's drinking. This bruise is my fault, blue.
Regret is
Wow. Basically saying that he's going to beat her ass.
I should have known better than to talk to him like that when he's drinking. This bruise is my fault, blue.
Oh my gosh.
Damn.
I'm surprised I'm surprised that much fit on a crayon wrapper. That's ridiculous.
The fact that the wrappers have actually stayed intact has been pretty cool, too.
Yeah, no joke.
You know, that China labor thing.
I got you.
It's a bitch.
Alrighty, so...
Is it 11 p.m. there?
It is 7:37 p.m. here.
Oh.
All right, so basically, here's our next topic for the night. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg wants internet regulation as long as he can shape it. The social network faces an uphill battle as it tries to regain the trust of lawmakers and its users. This is from CNET.com, this article by Queenie Wong, written yesterday, actually. And I just heard about this on a Tech News Today podcast that I listened to. So Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, let's see. Zuckerberg called for governments and regulators to play a more active role when it comes to harmful content, election integrity, privacy, and data portability, because, you know, Facebook is the expert on data. Those are all issues Facebook hasn't been able to corral, even as it ropes in more users. His ideas illustrate how anxious Facebook is to get a seat at the table as lawmakers hash out potential legislation that will affect its core business. Facebook and its Silicon Valley peers haven't been the target of serious U.S. regulation, but the landscape has shifted greatly since Zuckerberg in November 2016 said it was, quote-unquote, crazy to think fake news on Facebook affected the results of that year's U.S. presidential election. He was correct, I think, but we obviously need to make sure we control those social medias.
Yeah,
to keep people from being exposed to stupid ideas or wrong ideas or fake news ideas.
Because, you know, BuzzFeed and CNN are great sources of information.
Yeah. he says our systems would be more effective if regulation created common standards for verifying political actors. That's interesting. So this is a big deal and a big problem in my view. And the reason I think that's a bad idea rather, is because it kind of just falls into the same crony capitalist kind of model that you see happening over and over again, where the big businesses can lobby government. They have the money and the funds to lobby government to pass beneficial legislation for them, so that way they can then effectively lock out the little guy by using the tool of government.
Yep.
That's, as far as I can tell...
Anarchy!
Yes. So as far as I can tell, this is no different than that. This is exactly that same business model where Mark Zuckerberg, acting concerned for the state of our social media.
He's not concerned, dude. He's power hungry.
He goes in and says, hey, this is a great opportunity for us to shape the rules and make it, you know, because no matter what regulation they put on Facebook, they'll be able to afford it. They'll figure it out. They got the programmers. They got the funds to sit there and create the algorithms necessary. But if I'm a littler platform, good fucking luck being able to compete with that. I mean, how much initial investing would I have ahead of time? How many of these bootstrapped little businesses can actually say, hey, I'd like to start up a Facebook, competitor? Not going to happen. It's just not going to happen because they would be...
Well, I think at some point Facebook, if it hadn't already peaked, and I think now that it has, especially with everything that's going on right now, as far as control over what is posted and the algorithms and so forth. So I think what you're going to see probably in the next few years is a lot of these smaller, social media sites actually do quite well. And I think that there's going to start to be a balance of that because people want to be able to share content without being regulated.
If things stay as they are currently.
Yes. If they stay as they are currently, it's going to shift.
Yeah.
And I think that, when you become money hungry and power hungry, you tend to leave everything else behind, not realizing you're damaging your own brand in the process.
Which, based on what you just said, that basically backs up what Zuckerberg's trying to do then, because he may even recognize, hey, we're not in a good position. We've had all these big scandals come out, all this data breaches, all this violations of people's privacy coming out, and now we're looking at all these different competitors like Minds.com and Gab.ai are coming up and trying to take our place, and we can pretend to be overly concerned about, you know, hate speech on the internet and violations of whatever the fucking law it is, and then go lobby the government. And it's even more beneficial for him to do it based on what you said.
Well, it depends on the person and how they view the content of how he's trying to approach this. There's a lot of people on the internet that don't like Zuckerberg and Facebook right now, but people use it because it's to them the only alternative source to be able to, you know, to share content. But, you know, as of right now, I think that, I don't know, this could be interesting. And the cool thing is, though, is that everybody now has other options to explore other social media platforms. So for now. For now. Well, yeah, for now. But, I mean, as of right now, Zuckerberg or Fuckerberg, whatever you want to call him, he's in control of his own destiny when it comes to Facebook. Either this thing's going to crash at some point, or, you know, he can figure something out where he gets everybody back on board. But I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest with you. And not as long as that the government is going to be a part of this, or he wants to try to regulate and control people. It's just not going to happen.
Now, let me ask you guys this. Didn't the Democrats used to be like the party of free speech and individuality and you know, you gotta celebrate your uniqueness, you know, you got, you know, stuff like
right.
So this is a quote from Virginia Democrat Senator Mark Warner. Says,
her
quote,
middle name?
Huh?
Is her middle name Democrat?
A Virginia Democrat, Senator Mark Warner, it's a he, says, quote, I'm glad to see that Mr. Zuckerberg is finally acknowledging what I've been saying for the past 2 years. The era of the social media Wild West is over. Facebook needs to start to work with Congress to pass effective legislative guardrails, recognizing that the largest platforms like Facebook are going to need to be subject to a higher level of regulation in keeping with their enormous power. Nothing quite like big business and governments working together hand in hand to try to bubble wrap our world for us. Thanks, Zuckerberg.
Somebody needs to bring back MySpace.
Warner. Oh, it's still out there.
I know, but it's completely different than what it used to be before they switched over to the platform.
I tried to access one the other day, and my old one, I couldn't find it. It's like gone.
Yeah, I think they got rid of a lot of profiles from that. I heard some mention of
As
that
well, they
recently.
should.
Yeah, probably keeping a way too much server bandwidth. It's ridiculous. There's so much stuff coming down the pike, and it does two things to me. It makes me really, really kind of upset and pissed that they're doing it, but also very happy because it's a strong signal that what we're doing is working. I'm surprised there's not more people taking this viewpoint that, yeah, guys, check it out. Whatever the hell we're doing, this collective effort, even with small YouTube channels like ours, seems to be having an impact.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. MySpace, if they really wanted to make a comeback, they would have a great opportunity to present that case.
I don't know. I think it's going to be
Friendster, if you want to go further back, would have a good opportunity to
let's go back to AOL Instant Messenger. How about that?
The dial-up.
Yeah, I really think it's going to come down to blockchain again in this case. Again,
it's going to have to.
There's but what if MySpace went blockchain?
In fact, Minds.com.
Yeah.
Minds.com is blockchain based.
Yeah, I know. I've got a profile on there.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to link up on there. I didn't know.
We are.
Oh, I guess we are.
We are.
Sorry. I post on there quite a bit, and I interact with some folks on there. But it's kind of wild because you do get to see some more of the viewpoints that are being forced away from the main social media channels.
Right.
Like there actually is real Nazis there. Like the people that everybody thinks
they don't hide themselves.
Hiding in
that's
the bushes,
for sure.
They're actually over there. It's like, oh, you guys really do exist.
Real Nazis only existed like between 1935 and 1945.
Go on.
Well, there's no such thing as real Nazis now. The accurate term would be neo-Nazi, if that's what you mean.
Thank you for the
Real
correction.
Nazis are dead, most of them.
Thank you for the correction.
The word Nazi is so overused and,
Yeah,
and
well,
misplayed.
yeah. They're not coming out of the bushes and just seeping through our pipes. You know.
Is that person Jewish? Oh, they have a Jewish surname. Let's go kill them. That just doesn't happen. That's not real. That's just not real anymore.
Not statistically anyway.
But apparently, coming from the Democrats, it is.
Yeah. The way you would think.
It's a big
There's
problem.
no one more racist and Nazi-like than a leftist.
I was plunging my toilet and a fucking Nazi came up. They're everywhere.
That's why. Because it kind of showed up out of nowhere.
Tommy Robinson was deplatformed off YouTube. That's the last thing he had. So blockchain will have to be the alternative.
Yeah, and there's again a number of blockchain solutions that are already working to.
But that's what I'm
build
saying, because
right
of
now.
this stuff right here. It's driving everybody in that direction. So it's actually kind of more beneficial to that.
Yeah, you think
blockchain community.
Dude, let me. I don't know if I've expressed this to you, but if you guys think that the internet was a big deal, wait until blockchain comes and really takes over. Like, internet ain't shit compared to blockchain as far as the disruptive technologies that we're talking about.
Right.
We're talking about interrupting, the internet is one thing it'll interrupt. Content creation, content sharing, those types of things that the internet already disrupted, it's going to disrupt it again. But this time, we're also going to be able to disrupt things like banking, like the financial system in all its aspects. That's going to be a huge, huge deal. That's like the way that I heard it best described is right now.
Like anybody anyway, right?
Sorry, that was an accident.
Right now, all of, like if I go put my money in the bank, my money's in the bank, and somebody can go rob the bank and take my money. Obviously, there's other rules around it and how it works, but you get the basic gist of it.
I do.
You get the basic gist of it. My money's in the bank. The way blockchain works is my money is now distributed out over the whole internet, and if somebody wanted to rob me, they'd have to go around to every house in the neighborhood and take $1 from each one versus going to one central bank location to take my money away.
Right.
It's just
so
not.
banks will be a thing of the past. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
But I think because I don't know,
Banks will be like the blockbusters.
well, we obviously know that's not going to happen anytime soon, but I think it's obviously a good positive direction as far as where we're going because of what's currently going on, in our daily lives when it comes to the government, banks, and so forth. So it's one of the reasons why I keep up with it, and I kind of listen to a lot of the stuff that you talk about when it comes to blockchain, cryptocurrency, and so forth, because I encourage people to to knowledge themselves about it, and just kind of see the direction that it's going and watch it evolve because of currently what's going on in our political atmosphere.
On April 1st, Bitcoin suddenly shot back up again. It's been hovering around $3,800 for a Bitcoin,
right?
And it smacked into $5,000 for a Bitcoin almost overnight.
Oh shit!
I don't know what happened. They
weren't playing an April Fool's joke, were they?
No, it doesn't. I was sitting there thinking that, but I'm like, how would you even pull that off? Like,
I don't know.
But it still stayed there. It still stayed there. It's sitting right there about 5,000 right now. It's ridiculous. I don't know what the hell happened to make it shot up 20% overnight and then have it stay there.
I don't think I would question it.
No, not at all. My portfolio just shot way up all of a sudden.
Maybe Trump put some shares into it.
No. I heard rumors that something in Dubai or some shit. Yeah, it's sitting at 52. I'm sorry. I just refreshed. $5,000 for one Bitcoin. That shit is bonkers, dude. That shit is bonkers.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, it can go up. It can go down. Goes up. Whatever. Just part of the nature of it.
Yeah.
New technology and whatnot. Anyway, let me move on to another offensive crayon. Effective crayon. Dia, you want to pull Dia, you want to pull this one out?
All right.
You got it? That one? Oh, man. Now, I would have been amazed if you would have came back with a crayon in your hand. That would have been cool as shit.
I hate to disappoint, but I don't think I would have pulled out.
Yeah, boy, you picked a good one. Dia, you picked a nice lime green color called baby shit green.
Lovely.
And that's accurate. I've wiped asses with that color before in my earlier parenting days. No joke. So to refresh. To refresh, you guys have some nice cool colors to work with. Submit your art creations to unframeofmind@gmail.com. And the colors you'll be using today is corporations are people too, green, baby shit green, which is a lighter like a lime green. And then we have a dark blue, which is called I Should Have Known Better Than to Talk to Him Like That When He's Drinking. This bruise is my fault.
That is so fucked up.
All right.
Daddy
And
beats me because he loves me.
if you submit your drawings to the email address, we'll go ahead and show those on next week's episode. All right. So I'm going to wrap this up with the...
Faux business.
Yeah, our favorite segment of the show. Dia, do you have... you don't even know what's about to happen, do you?
No, but I'm anxiously anticipating.
Wait for it.
Faux business. Faux business. Faux business.
Alrighty, and today, today
I'm glad she doesn't know anything about this.
I know this is brand new for you too. We have a new segment called the Phobismist, and what that is it's a combination of the word of the phobe, ism, and ist that we keep hearing about so much in the news today. And we
like
should be
Islamophobe.
Exactly.
Yes.
Feminist.
So now we've created a whole profession about teaching people how to be offended at everything. Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I've been wondering how I can be offended about the fact that
Absolutely.
I'm still alive, that I live at home with my parents, or whatever it may be.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to send you so that you can see it as well. I'm going to send you this image so that you can bring it up and you can maybe try to be a budding noob phobismist. All right.
Okay.
So,
I actually thought, because I've seen your Twitter handle, I actually thought it was Phoebemist.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how else you would pronounce it.
No, you're the one that made up the word.
Yeah,
It's up to
phobismist.
you.
So there's
I just
your
clicked it. I didn't. Hang on.
yeah there's
Nothing.
your image sent to you.
Oh,
okay.
gotcha.
All right.
They
So,
would say matryoshka. If you went to Russia, they'd call that a matryoshka.
oh my God, you pronounce it so much better. I was trying so hard to roll my R's. I was learning how to pronounce it, and they're saying it, and then I'm saying it, and then they're saying it, and then I'm saying it. I'm like, matryoshka. It's the closest I can get. You make me sick.
Well, I just got.
I can't do. You stop.
Unpleasant
You
thing in my pants.
easy.
Oh, I just made him jizz in his pants.
Yeah. She said jizz on the show.
She
That's
said
awesome.
just. Was that the first time anybody's ever said the word on our show?
I think it is.
I think Lee may have said it already.
He might have, but
All
it's
right.
been a long time ago.
Homework for the viewing audience. You got to go back through all of the all
your
past
videos.
episodes, and I need to know if the word jizz has ever been said on our show. And then I need a compilation of every time. Anyway, today's Phobismist, we're going to teach you why you should be offended by matryoshka dolls.
Or babushka dolls.
Well, the babushka dolls I learned was actually an erroneous title. It says it right here on
I
the.
know that you're supposed to say matryoshka, but like everyone calls them
Yeah.
babushka dolls.
Babushka means grandmother or old woman, whereas matryoshka means the little matron, diminutive of the Russian female first name
Actually, I think I have one.
She's gonna go get it.
And
So
she's gone.
for those who are just listening, the matryoshka dolls are those little dolls that